Hey guys.
Hi. We're trying some new things out just to make it flow a little easier when we're recording. So bear with us while we learn this new process. We've obviously, if you saw our other two videos, we've never done this before in the sense, I mean, we've done it by ourselves, but not together. So that's like a whole new thing to learn.
Yeah,
so
and
just bear with us. We're having some fun.
Yeah, exactly. Again with the dog.
Oh yeah.
So today I have been thinking about balance. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
I don't really have anything necessarily balanced, but it just like the first thing that comes to mind is a lot of stuff that I've been thinking about this week, which is over and over again, I've been reminded that no matter what's going on in the external, what it looks like, what it feels like, etc., it's just another thing, another lesson to bring us back to here, to our heart, to where God is. And that over and over again all week long, I've been really shown these lessons and really some of the time I don't want to see it. Like today in particular, I did not want to see it.
You don't have to give today's example, but
that's actually just fresh on my mind. Just
okay.
So thinking like, and I actually did a video on this. I had wanted to do a video over the weekend because
And what's your YouTube channel?
My YouTube is Katie's Cast with a K.
Cast
what's yours?
Is with a
K. Cast is with a K. What's yours?
Mine's just Lorianne Jones.
Lorianne Jones.
Nice.
Oh, you probably had that on them.
Yeah. You got a close up of Batty.
But so for example today, so when I was talking on my video was the external, including our bodies. And I have always struggled with body image, food, my relationship with food, etc. I mean, that can be a whole nother issue. But as far as for today, when I was getting dressed, my clothing doesn't fit anymore. And I had talked about this before with Lorianne and I a couple weeks ago about I had also had another situation where my clothes weren't fitting and really struggling with that and really trying to find out what really is the underlying issue there. And so this kind of brings in balance, I guess, but the underlying issue is fitting in. And for me, when I was younger, I just never felt like I fit in. I never felt like I fit in at school. And I don't know if I talked about this last week. Did I talk about this last week? I feel like I've talked about it so much that I'm
maybe a little bit in the introduction, but
okay.
I don't think in depth.
Fitting in with my friends, fitting in at school, fitting in with my family. I never really felt like I fit in. And so God has such a beautiful way of showing us these old traumas, these old wounds that we have in the present moment. And when I was going through a couple weeks ago, feeling this not fitting into my clothing, when I sit and do the work, I see that it had nothing to do with my clothing. It had nothing to do with the external. It was and again, even the external with the experiences I had as a kid and my family, etc. at school was all just a reminder to come back here to say that I've always fit in. I've always fit with God. I've always been love, connection, fitting in, etc. Just not on the external. And I didn't understand what that meant as a kid. You just don't know. You always want to fit in. You want people to like you. You want to be approved of. You want love, etc. You want all of that. And so you're always constantly looking outside for those things. At least I always was. And just getting
all of us.
Constantly just kicked down. And always thought there was something wrong with me.
Right. I mean, and I think if I can stop you there, that brings us back to how the universe, how people are mirrors for us.
Totally.
Because there are plenty of people who go through their life and they do feel like they fit in and they're popular and they don't have trouble in that way. But the real lesson for you was the fitting in with God and who you truly were, right?
And God was just constantly showing me all the time, through friends, through school, through my family, through my body, etc., was just constantly just to remind me that I couldn't see it until I actually was able to be present enough to understand. I've always fit in. I've always fit. Just not the external. I've always fit here. And that's what God wanted me to know, the lesson.
Let's take this a step further. Because then, we were talking about this video that we watched that said you were never meant to fit in.
Right.
When we talk about the way the world is today.
Exactly.
There's so much going on in the world today that neither of us really agree with or want to be a part of.
Yeah.
In many ways. And so, is that also a gift? Like
Yes.
How does that fit in? How does that
right.
fit in? Is that really, you don't want to fit in with this. You want to fit in with God's way that he sees you. You don't want to fit in the way that is of this world.
Right. And it's so uncomfortable seeing all of this out there and seeing what's going on. And again, it's just that uncomfortable feeling, uncomfortable in my body, uncomfortable with fitting in. And it was all just another mirror just to show me that I don't need that.
Yeah.
I don't need to fit in, and it's okay, is really what it was. It's just, you're still loved, you're still approved of, you're still everything. You don't need that to feel those things.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that until I actually sat down and did the work and really was like, okay, what is this really showing me? What is the bigger lesson here? Because it's so surface that we, this isn't fitting, this isn't, you get angry and upset. And when you really sit down and just are quiet and really learn the lesson, it's like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to learn. And it's okay if you don't fit in. It's okay.
Yeah.
And not knowing that when I was little. Always thought there was something wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I was trying my hardest to fit in every situation. I'd study my tail off. I'd exercise like crazy. I'd watch what I ate. I was a people pleaser. My whole life, it was all about trying to fit in, not realizing that all of that was just to show me that I'm okay. I don't need any of that.
And as you're explaining, like, all the things you did to fit in,
yeah,
I was like, all of those are very punishing things. Like, punishing
punish
yourself.
myself my whole life.
Yeah. I mean, right, we all do.
Yes.
But you punish yourself. Like,
I have to fit. I have to fit. Because that's what we're told is meaningful. But in reality, it's not.
Okay, so I got a weird analogy.
Okay.
When I always go back to fairy tales, kids' stories, things like that, because they're so simple.
Yeah.
But they drive home the point. So
totally.
I remember having this discussion with my oldest daughter because it was that same fitting in issue.
Okay.
And I think, so this was a Tinkerbell movie.
Oh, okay.
And Tinkerbell, you know how the fairies get their
wings?
Not just their wings, but their talent,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Every fairy has a talent. And when they're born, they get shown what their talent is, right?
Nice, yes.
So Tinkerbell was a tinker fairy.
Okay.
And that was not very cool.
Right.
A tinker fairy was not very cool. There was water fairies.
Right. She wanted the fun ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was enamored with all the fun ones, right? And so, of course, the movie is about appreciating what you bring, the gifts that you bring, that were God-given, that were chosen before you even understood who you were. Right?
Yeah.
And she became the best tinker fairy when she was able to
really see that's what she was meant for.
And to stop comparing.
Yes. Oh, comparing.
The comparing just like literally makes you miserable.
It does. Well, you're constantly, again, looking out there for somebody to validate you. And so you're comparing, and it's never, ever going to give, you will never,
joy.
No, never.
Because what does it do? It's always placing more value on something outside of you than what you are bringing, what you offer. And it
never works.
You cannot
you're
find
constantly
joy and happiness
unhappy. And just not really understanding always thinking, oh, if I just do this one thing, we talked last week about the food, right? If I just eat this one thing, if I just do this, I'll heal. If I just do this one thing, again, external, and not realizing it's always to bring us back to here. Yeah. And yeah, talk about balance. I mean, trying to bring that back in when we were talking about that before. It's like, absolutely. How do you balance all that out? It's just, now it's having to learn and relearn really how to bring that balance back, because I've spent my whole life looking outside, looking outside. If I do this one thing, if I do, et cetera, think this one thing, it'll bring me happiness. And constantly, it's just always bringing us back here. And so for me now, I'm having to really learn that kind of over again and really understand, like today when my clothes don't fit, there's a reason for that I'm forgetting that you're still looking externally for your unhappiness, or you're still happiness. For your happiness, and that it's already right here. Yeah. So good. It was a big lesson for me today. Totally. Because I was not happy. Yeah. But then I was like, okay, why am I not happy? What is this showing me? Yeah. There's always the bigger lesson there, and I was digging my heels in. I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to be happy. I wanted to be upset. Right. Well, I mean, and just the word you just said there, accept it. I mean, I think unacceptance of who we are and what we have to bring to the table, like not accepting Tinkerbell. Like Tinkerbell didn't want to accept it. Nope. I know that's silly, but I don't know. Oh, but it does I think so simply in those terms. Oh, for sure. But it's easier, I think, to think simply like that, because it's not serious. Yeah. It's not a big deal. It's another lesson. Just be like, oh, if we just take the time to look in and understand what we're supposed to bring to the table, we'll find so much joy. Right. But it's like, I mean, what are you thinking when that dress doesn't fit? Oh, that I'm ugly, fat, I don't fit in. I want to look like a certain other person, etc. When at the same time I can't. I look like me. Yeah. I'm only me. Yeah. There's no way I can compare myself to somebody else. No. It's impossible. Right. And so when I'm doing that, what do I think? Oh my gosh, terrible things about myself. And I punish myself. Well, and then you think like, so here's what I'm thinking. Like someone who's looking at you going, I would give anything to look like you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There are people who are saying that to themselves. Wow. And how are you coming across to not be grateful for how you look? For sure. And I think about that too. Like nobody really wants to look like me, except for the person who doesn't have any legs, or who can't move with ease. Exactly. Or who's laid up in bed. Totally. And it's like, really? I'm going to be I'm upset about this? Right. Why am I not grateful for what God has given me? Exactly. I'm thinking it's wrong, it's bad. It can't be. It never can be. But that's just our distorted way of looking at it. And for me, that's just how I've always looked at it. Again, because I've always thought about it on the external and not really realizing that I put so much value in that now I'm having to relearn how to really have value here and not externally. And it's just another way for me to come back home. Yeah, absolutely. That's so beautiful. And it's difficult. It's so difficult. It's not like something you get like no, that's what I'm saying. Like that just happened a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm having to be again, that lesson again. It's just like, okay, what are you doing? Yeah. Remember to come back, and just it's all just a remembrance. Oh my gosh. And loving. I remember one time I was feeling that. Like those days when you just feel like I can't even look at myself. Yeah. Like it's so I don't even want to catch a glimpse of myself in there. Yeah. And I remember I was feeling desperate, not liking the way that I looked. And so I decided to go to the mall. And I was like, gonna buy a new outfit. Yeah, right. That's gonna make me feel better. Exactly. That's what we do, right? We distract ourselves from actually feeling it. And I remember walking the mall. And it just happened to be, I don't know why it was this, but again, the mirror of the universe going, get over yourself. There were so many people there who were in a more difficult situation than I was. Disabilities. You could tell, just not coming from good, safe places. I mean, just one right after the other, after the other. Wow. Where I
was like a
it was like,
slap in the face.
Pay attention.
Exactly.
Like I'm showing you what is wrong with you.
You idiot. Stop. Like, and just.
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't help but stop and be like, what a selfish douche I am. You know what I mean?
I know. Because we are. That's what we think of. We think, oh, well, we have to be this perfect thing. And when we're not, or when we think we're not, we just, again, keep looking externally. But it's like, okay, but when you're open, you were open to it. Yeah. Because if you were just have gone to the mall and just really been stuck in your moment, you would have missed the whole lesson. You would have missed the whole thing that God was showing you. But you had this opening to be able to really see that, because a lot of the time we're just really completely distracted. We don't really know the lessons that are out there for us. They're in every single moment.
Yeah.
But unless we're open to it,
like
that's, I think, like for me, it's just like, I'm open to it now. And so I think it's harder because it's now being shown to me over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because now I see it. And it's like, I don't want to see it.
Yeah.
I want to stay distracted. I want to stay upset. I want to stay punishing myself.
Because then I'll never change.
Exactly.
So you're still, it reveals to you how stuck you are still.
Yes.
Or a little bit attached.
Oh.
Because if you
that's
let
all I
go
felt
of
today. It was just the attachment. Like I am still so attached to that. But yet I still have the opening of being like, you've grown. It's okay. Yeah. And it's just having to remember that over and over and over again. So you had that opening that you were able to really see, what am I talking about? What am I thinking?
Yeah.
There's always somebody in a more stressful situation.
Yeah.
So anyways.
And just to appreciate where you
oh my gosh,
where you
the
are.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
That's
good stuff.
Anyways,
good.
We kind of
stuff.
tangent there, but
no,
I mean it did
okay.
tie in, good. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that was really good because I think, and the balance thing, as you were talking about that, I was thinking, the balance that I've been thinking about is more masculine, feminine.
Oh, yeah.
But it's all inside versus outside. As within, so without. It all just kind of builds on each other. So we could go there, but I think we could take a separate talk.
Yeah.
And talk more about the balance. But I think the fitting in.
I mean, that just as you're talking about that just makes me think like my scales are still way down here in the sense of like it's weighing me down of the wanting to fit in. And I'm, like I said, just having to really relearn how to really balance that out within and not thinking externally, because it's just an old pattern. It's just these old patterns that we've had. It's just so mechanical. It's just a thought comes in or an experience comes in, and it's just so mechanical how we react. And so it's having to relearn, or not really relearn, but really having to learn that we have it here. We don't ever need anything externally.
Right.
It's always right here. But when you've gone your whole life, I mean, I'm 44 years old, and just recently waking up to the sense of like, whoa, but having to come back here, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
And so having that patience with ourselves and the graciousness, that's even a word.
No, it is.
to remember that these are all just lessons. It's all just to bring us back. It's okay if you feel this way. It's okay if you feel angry. It's okay if you feel this anxiety or whatever it is, because it'll always just bring you back here.
Yeah.
So there is that balance, and my balance is kind of still pretty low in having to really kind of equal it out a little bit, or whatever the word is.
Yeah, balance.
Balance it out. There you go. The word balance. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
So,
good share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Anyways, see you next time.